What is up, conscious monkeys? Welcome to another episode of Traveling to Consciousness. I'm your host, Clayton. On this episode, we are sitting down with one of the realists. She has her own coffee business. She has her own podcast, which merges kind of consciousness, fulfillment, and success. Kind of, I guess, what we're doing here, but I'm sure she has her own little spin on it. But while we're here, Conscious Monkeys, welcome to the show, Teal Cooper. Teal,
Thanks,
thanks for being here.
Clayton. Thank you. I'm super pumped to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you.
Very
Yeah,
excited.
so first of all, I guess we can start with the podcast. Was that a good way to kind of summarize it? That was a way I kind
Yeah.
of pulled out.
No, I think it's very much aligned with yours with traveling in consciousness. It's just kind of, I guess, warped into the world of entrepreneurship in the sense of more of like how can we live our most fulfilling lives and really just step into a higher state of consciousness and become in alignment in order to do that.
Upon my initial research, it seemed like it was kind of like in the more entrepreneurial space, but I hesitated whenever I was
But
putting
here's the
together
thing,
the
like
intro.
that was my niche going into it, but I'm open to it kind of finding its place. Like that's just what I'm interested in right now, but I'm also interested in spirituality and relationships and like psychology. So it's like I don't want to narrow it down too small and kind of just like it's more broad all things fulfillment because that's what I'm like the most passionate about is how can we find fulfillment and live our best life. I don't know if you can cuss on this or not. I almost just
Yeah,
said.
yeah, go for it. Shit,
Okay.
piss, fuck. We got them all. No censored, uncensored, uncut, the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually a good lead into what my first question usually is. And speaking of fulfillment, what was the first thing that you kind of wanted to be when you grew up? And how did you maybe see that as possibly being fulfilling in your life?
Yeah, like when I was growing up, I honestly can't remember thinking I want to be this or I want to be that. I wasn't the person who was like, I know I want to be a doctor or I want to be a um, lawyer. I had no idea. Like I really don't remember having any set clear direction or goals. And then I don't even remember the word entrepreneur being a thing growing up either. Both my parents were entrepreneurial though and had their own businesses. So I definitely had them to look up to as role models. But I guess the first time in my life that I found fulfillment, like I had jobs and internships, and I went to school and I never really felt passionate about anything until the idea for my company came about. And I can totally go into all of that too. But that was like the first time where I found like full whole body consuming fulfillment and passion.
Well, how old were you when you started your company?
So that happened my junior year of college. And then we
Okay.
launched it my senior year. So I was
Cool. So
21, 22.
okay, so let's wind it back to your like 10 or 12.
Okay.
Let's
So
start a little bit earlier.
yeah, like honestly, 10 or 12, I'm trying to think. Like, I was just super free spirited. Like, I loved people. I loved making friends. I don't remember thinking, like, I want to be um, a certain career path. Like, I really don't remember that. And I remember growing up and I loved, like, I was just extremely social and like, I was very curious about people. And I was also a really big, like, daydreamer. And I remember like staring at the ceiling and pretending that we were walking backwards for hours. Like I would do weird things like that.
I mean, it sounds to me like you're checking off all the boxes of a podcast host.
Perfect.
So you got a bright future there.
Amazing.
But I'm going to kind of push you to the fire a little bit more. So, was there did your parents like never ask you what you wanted to be, or was that question never proposed to you?
My parents were always like, you could be anything you want to be as long as you put your mind to it. Like the world is your oyster. The sky is the limit. They always encouraged me to think big, which I love. And I'm so grateful that I had that mindset growing up instilled in me. Um, but no, like for 2 seconds, maybe I thought I wanted to be actually, okay, no. I wanted to be on Disney Channel.
Okay.
I wanted
There we
to
go.
be like Miley Cyrus. Like that was what I wanted to do when I was like 10 years old. And I actually like would go on auditions and did dance class. Like my only thing I ever got was a Heelys commercial in high school.
Oh,
I think I
hell
was in
yeah.
middle school or high school. I don't even know. And so I was really like, that's what I was into. And that's what I thought I wanted to be. But that was like a phase. It wasn't a long term. I grew out of it.
I think I'm gonna count
Okay,
it.
perfect. I'm glad I
I'm gonna
remembered
count
that.
it. But that's hilarious, and it's funny you say, Miley Cyrus because I remember I don't know if I was, like, in love I mean, Disney was so, magnifying, I think, as a kid, but I remember Hannah Montana being on the TV quite a bit. That was such a great show.
Oh, I was obsessed with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know our
Uh,
age difference, but like, how do you know how old you were when that show came out?
no. I know I'm 27 right now.
Oh, that's how old I am. Okay. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, we were like I was at the age where it made sense for me to wanna be her when that show came out.
You were like, "This chick is"
I was
Did you
obsessed.
did you wanna be her, or
I
did
just
you
wa
wanna, like, live a life like her?
Yeah, I mean, like, I thought it would be the coolest thing on earth to be her, like, acting in that show in Hannah Montana.
You like that polarity of having, like, the secret life, I guess, like, having the life of a star and then also having, like, that normal life.
For sure, and I just thought, like, I resonated with the show, I, like, related to it, it made a lot of sense, you know?
Yeah. That's cool. So this Heelys commercial,
Yeah, the Helix
were you
commercial,
able to
my big break.
were you able to find it?
Oh, yeah, it's on YouTube. I can show it to you
Okay.
after this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm gonna throw it down in the description below.
Oh my god. I'm in it for 2 seconds. It's literally like a pan out of a park. I plop in the Heelys and then I Heely away.
That's still pretty badass.
I thought it was so cool at the time, and I got
Well,
paid like $1,000 for it, which was a lot of
damn.
money at like being so young. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm rich." But after that, that was like my big break and that was it. I was done.
Well, I mean, and Heelys, like, had a huge phase, like, back when we were kids too. I remember it was, like, the thing, like, there was, like, a whole school rule that you couldn't wear Heelys because people were, like, getting injured with them.
Yeah. No. I loved them.
Yeah, so you're pretty much, like, the trendsetter, I guess.
Yeah, you can say that.
We'll put that next to your title as well.
Perfect. Healy's trendsetter.
Well, so what was it like trying out for all these different auditions? Like, were you, like, and I guess also how long was this too?
Like how long was the phase of this part of my life?
Yeah.
I would say probably like 2 years, maybe like 2 to 3 years, and I went to acting class too. Like, I'm remembering all of this stuff now about my life. Thanks for bringing it up. Like, I actually couldn't remember growing up, but, I loved it. Like, I got super nervous, and it definitely put me out of my comfort zone, and at a young age, it taught me a lot about rejection, which I'm now realizing all of this, which I never thought about before, but it kinda sets you up for getting thicker skin for when you're older and doing sales like I eventually did. And you learn a lot about rejection and disappointment and not taking things too personally. Because at the end of the day, they're looking for an exact look and an exact type. And you have to match that type. It has nothing against you. But yeah, no, I remember the Heelys one. Like I felt it after. I was like, I got that. Like I just felt it click. And I was like, that was the first time where it actually like felt like I like it matched, like it was a it was aligned, I felt like I actually like nailed it. But the other ones I could just sense like, yeah, that was off or that was really bad. And basically you would go in with a few other kids and they'd have the camera on you. They'd ask you questions or have a script and you would like repeat the script back and then you'd get callbacks. And there'd be like X amount of callbacks until you actually get the job.
I'm curious about how you describe that, like, alignment. You said you did a couple and they always felt, like, kind of off, but then this one just felt like you knew right away.
Yeah, you can just feel like the energy in the room. I think even at that age, I could pick up on, okay, they really liked me. Okay, I was actually really naturally good at that. I wasn't forcing it. It felt like the whole thing just felt like energetically aligned. Whereas a lot of other times I would do it and it'd be like forced or you can just feel it feeling off after.
Almost like, were they for roles that didn't align with, like, who you were?
Yeah, they'd be stupid things though, like a toy. I was young, so it'd be like a Nickelodeon TV commercial for some doll, or like, um, yeah, like I really can't remember what they were, but the Heelys were it was the first thing where I actually liked them because I would use them. I loved Heelys growing up. So, and I was kind of like somewhat of a tomboy. And so, yeah, it just made sense, I guess.
You were just like a product fit for it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I in my mind, I'm making a relation with, Jim and Pam from The Office. They talk about how whenever they auditioned, uh, the other one was like, "You were perfect for that role, like, you're gonna get it." You know what I mean? And the other one like, they both said that about each other. And so I was curious if, like, that alignment that you felt kinda with that Heelys commercial was kinda just like, "Oh, like, this is it. This is that one."
Yeah, that's interesting. No, I didn't feel it till after the fact though. Like going into it, I had no idea. And then after, and actually my brother came with me for that one and I dragged him along and he wasn't into this at all. And I remember that made me feel more comfortable too, having him being there. So yeah, it was funny.
That's interesting. And then what happened with the commercial career after that? Was it just
That was the
nothing
end of
else
the phase. I
happened?
think I was after that, I was getting into high school and I just grew out of it. I was like, this isn't for me anymore. And that was fun while it lasted. And then, yeah, it wasn't until, I mean, in high school, I felt like I wasn't even like I wasn't that into school, and I don't think I had another passion really until Bendy Bean really.
Okay, so then with that, like, exit, right, on was there something that happened, or did you just one day you were like, "My heart's not in this anymore?"
Yeah, I think that's what it was, and I think I was also, probably not wanting to admit it at the time, but I was like, there was a lot of discouragement where I was like, it took so long to get this one gig, and like, it's a lot of effort and energy, and I don't think I felt like passionate enough about it to put the energy into it, while also starting a whole new school with people I didn't know. And it was just a lot going on, different chapter of life, you know?
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of, I guess, pressure, but a lot of change to put on, someone that's younger. And then so you're saying you changed schools. Was that like, did you guys move, or was it like a different middle school to high school situation?
No, so it was middle school to high school, but the high school I went to was like a different one than what my middle school could transition into. So I went to just this different high school. Um, and my brother actually already went there first. He was younger, but in middle school. So I was going into ninth grade, and it was pretty normal because in ninth grade, there's a lot of different schools that kind of clump together. That so there's like multiple new people, not just me, is a lot. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know. I think I knew one person.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Damn, that's everyone else went to the other school.
for the most part, yeah,
You just had to be an outcast, I guess.
yeah, I guess so.
It's that badass Healy's nature coming in.
Yeah, I don't even know if anyone knew about that too. I was like, I don't remember if I was like embarrassed or if I was proud of it. I honestly like, I'm actually concerned about how my memory is right now. It's fading away.
I mean, from the sounds of it, you must have blocked that out for quite some time then.
I probably surfacing
Uh,
now.
we'll have to go back and look at the commercial. Maybe there's some, indicators there as to why it got blocked out.
It's really not bad. Like, I don't think that's it. You barely see me in it.
Well, we'll we'll table that.
Okay.
We'll come back to it. So then I think I blanked out a little bit talking about memory. But what was it that you said what was the next thing you found your passion in once you kind of got to high school? You kind of got situated in where you were at. You started making some new friends, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
Was
Yeah.
there this another thing that like aligned with you at this point?
In high school?
Yeah.
Um, for me in high school, it was, I loved making new friends. I loved the social aspect. School, I don't remember there being one thing in school that I felt passionate about, to be honest. Like, I never felt like school came easy for me. I was diagnosed with ADHD in high school. Um, So I was a distraction in my classes, and all my teachers complained because I was constantly talking to people. And so um, my parents ended up medicating me. And then I like went into this dark hole of like not feeling myself for a amount of time on this medication, and ended up stopped taking it because I hated the way it made me feel. But um, I was like a pretty naturally happy person, and I loved like yeah, I loved being at school, just the actual classes and what we were learning. it just nothing stuck out to me. Like, I don't remember being super passionate about anything in particular.
Do you think there was, and I like discussing dark holes, so if I hit a spot, just feel free to push back.
No, you're good.
Do you think there was any correlation with you going on this medication and, well, maybe I should phrase it a little differently. It sounded like you kinda, like, went into a dark hole, you said. So, and you said there was nothing, like, really happy or fulfilling. Do you feel like there was a correlation between taking, prescription, I guess, Adderall or anything like that?
To be honest, I was still happy, and it was honestly short-lived, this dark hole medication, because I realized pretty quickly that I hated the way it made me feel, and, I would just my parents thought I was taking it, and I stopped taking it, and I just wouldn't take it anymore because I didn't like the effects of it, and then eventually they stopped making me take it, but, um, like, I was a pretty happy person in high school, and, like, I was a very, like, always smiling, fun-loving, high energy, very similar to who I am today, but I don't think it correlated with, the passion. Like, I got, like, A's, B's, and C's in school. Like, I wasn't, like, failing out of anything. I did, um, cheerleading for a little bit, did soccer for a little bit. Like, I was involved in a sense, but more for, like, the social aspects. I wasn't, like, really good at sports or anything. I wasn't super passionate about sports. Um, I don't know. I don't think I found my passion till later.
You were kinda just enjoying
Yeah,
making new friends,
I was
trying.
learning things, figuring out what I liked, what I didn't like. I think high school is such a time of exploration of, like, who you are, and it's the beginning. It's like you don't even know who you are yet. You're just starting to discover.
I mean, I think that's a great way to do it too. It's like, well, especially if you don't know what you wanna do or what you enjoy doing, like, the answer to that is almost that you need to try everything.
Totally. And, like, the idea going into college and you have to pick a major before you go into college baffles me, you
It's
know?
pretty crazy.
I think that's insane. You're asking, like, 18-year-olds what they think they wanna be for, the rest of their life.
My sister says the same thing.
It's nuts.
She always talks about how she, wish she had, like, a leap year, or, like, she had, like, a year off where she
Mhm.
coulda kinda just, like, reevaluated everything and tried different stuff.
So smart. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll try to make that a part of the culture.
I agree.
Let's start setting that cultural standard.
Yeah, for sure.
So then, so first of all, where did you grow up? What part of?
Yeah. I was in Dallas, Texas,
Okay.
and my parents kinda plopped there because my mom's from Los Angeles, my dad's South African and immigrated to LA. So they moved to Dallas before I was born for my dad's work. He was in real estate, and so I grew up going to California all the time, and so I ended up going to college at San Diego State, and
Uh,
I was, like, the only person in my high school to leave to go to California. Like, everyone called me this, like, liberal hippie freak, and I was like, "You guys don't even know. Like, have fun rotting in Texas." Just kidding. But, I
uh,
mean, I love Texas, but I will never move back. Like, I love the ocean, and I can't imagine my life without it. And my parents wanna move out here too, but they built a life, in Dallas, and it's been great for them. So, yeah, I'm currently in San Diego.
Tell them to get a beach house.
I know. They're working on it.
Yeah. Just need to manifest a little bit harder.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, San Diego's a hell of a place to be. Like, there's really nowhere else in the world like it.
Oh my god, I'm obsessed with it. Like,
I know.
it's the best.
I'm gonna be back soon.
Okay, yeah, let me know.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm coming across actually, so I'll be there.
Oh my
What
god,
is that?
that's
March
the first
3
weekend
to
of
8.
March. I'm gone that weekend actually for a wedding in Dallas.
Well,
But you used to
wasn't
live
meant
in
to be.
San Diego.
Yeah, for 4 years,
Okay.
3 or 4
Yeah,
years, 4 years. Yeah, yeah, I love it.
it's
I'll be
great.
back eventually. I think
Yeah,
I'm on that travel thing right now where I just got to keep traveling around, and then we'll find our way back.
for sure. It makes sense.
Yeah, manifest some pretty cool trips coming up. So
Amazing. That's exciting.
yeah, I am excited. I'm excited about it. Um, But before we keep talking about what I'm excited about, I'm interested in hearing what you were excited about when you went to college in San Diego. A mixture of, what did you pick? And was San Diego this liberal hippie place that Texas thought it was?
Yeah, no, not at all. And I think I was I fit in way more in San Diego than I did in Dallas. Like I stuck out kind of like a sore thumb. I like the school I went to at least. It was really conservative, and most people there had like their roots in Texas. So I just didn't really fit in that well, to be honest. But yeah, no, when I went to San Diego, I was like, this is my place. These are my people. I like connected really fast with a lot of my best friends who are still my closest friends today. Um, and yeah, I went in and we some of my friends who I initially met had older siblings there, and they were like, "Yeah, this major is the broadest. So you can pick this and you'll figure it out later, and there's a lot of different options." So I ended up picking that one, and it was called Journalism Media Studies. So you can pick between like it kind of branched out into like marketing, PR, advertising, and that's the realm of like the major that I chose. Um, but yeah, I I like took all the classes, did all the things, and I I still was like nothing's really sticking out to me. Like classes in itself for me was never a place where I felt like I really learned information. Like I learned from doing and like in being in the real world of like internships or experiences or um like I have friends who like are like, yeah, I remember this one time I learned this in this class. I'm like, how do you remember that? Like I don't remember anything I learned in school, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe we do need to check out your memory.
But like, I don't know. It's just nothing stuck out to me in school. And I don't know. I think that it seems more common than I think. Like I talk to a lot of people and I don't know. Maybe that's just San Diego State education. Who knows?
I do want to point out real quick before we get too far away. Whenever you said these are my people, I want everyone listening to know that like Teal got like in the microphone to say that. So I don't know if that came through, but like you got aggressively close to your mic whenever you said
Oh, I
that.
did.
You were like, "These are my people." I was like, "Oh damn!"
That's so funny. I need to not do that. It's like so loud.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was good energy.
Oh my God. That's so good. It's
Interested
like
to
a
see how that
rap
comes through.
song.
Yeah, these are my people in San Diego.
I love it.
Uh, that's cool. So you took like you found like a kind of a general course, I guess,
Yeah, it was like a
but
general
like
broad major, all encompassing on like marketing, media studies, PR, advertising, communications. And I enjoyed it, like I met a lot of people through classes and um, I did Greek life for 2 years and then I dropped out because I was like, I don't really need this anymore. I found my friends and I had the best college experience. Like I truly loved it.
yeah. I mean, I feel like it's so hard to not love it.
Yeah.
What did you say you went to? SDSU?
SDSU. Yeah.
SDS is that the one in La Jolla?
No, that's the one. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like college. It's like on the 8 East. Um,
Okay, like east of Point Loma.
no, I blank Mission. How do you describe the area? Oh my God. It's like you go down the 80s pretty east and then um I'm
It's just out
blanking.
there.
It's out there. It's
Okay,
not in an
it's out
area where you
there.
would go to if it weren't for that school.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, it's like there that stadium is where the Chargers used to play.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's like
Okay,
right. It's by
Mission
the
Valley. Mission
no,
Valley?
no, no, no.
No.
Not by there.
Well, this is probably really bad radio if people don't live in San Diego.
Edit it out. I mean, you don't edit things out.
No, we don't edit.
I love it. People are gonna be like, "Okay, on to the
Well,
next."
yeah, whatever. People can fast forward. We're gonna get into better stuff later. So, um, I don't know. Whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's all happening as it should, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's keep moving along because I want to get to the spirit. Well, maybe this is a good check-in spot.
Yeah.
Have what would be whenever you were in college or whenever you were maybe even in high school, give us like a little bit of a timeline of what you thought in those years about spirituality, about manifestation, about crystals, anything in
Yeah.
that kind of realm.
So my mom, did you watch The Secret, the documentary?
I have not.
Okay, so when that came out, I was like probably 10, and my mom was obsessed with it. So I watched it with her a couple times, and I don't think it really fully like I grasped all the information at that age, but she raised me like instilling a lot of that in me, like law of attraction. Like we made vision boards together. I already kind of had that um, foundation, which was really awesome because I grew up with that mindset and didn't really know it. And I don't even remember really knowing, like, the term law of attraction then, but as I learned it later on in life, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, this is what my mom basically raised me on." And so, I wouldn't consider that like, at that age, being in high school, college, I don't know if I considered myself spiritual yet. Like, I don't remember thinking, like, about manifestation or knowing what those words were and how to like, I remember having deep thoughts about life and the meaning of life, but I don't think I was considered, like, I didn't have my spiritual awakening at that point in time yet.
It was kinda more just like it sounds like, at least to me, it was, like, more like a logical construct almost.
More so, but not really logical, more of, like, I think in the grand scheme of things, it was very much aligned with the concepts of manifestation, with that mindset and law of attraction and energy. I was big on energy, just naturally because I grew up in that environment. My mom was pretty spiritual. Um, Maybe I was familiar with the term spiritual, but I don't know if I was like, I'm spiritual yet at that point in my life. Um, like, I'm still at this point figuring out who I am, exploring, going through, different chapters. But yeah, that's kind of where I was at mindset wise.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's pretty interesting because I don't think I'm aware of too many people that have been, at least in our generation, have been exposed at like that level,
I know.
growing up.
I know. And like I look back and I think it's played a huge role in my life because when I did become exposed as I got older, it clicked so well for me where I was like, wow, this all makes so much sense. And it's like I intuitively and instinctively just got it. And I felt like I knew it all along, but um, like I was it was like in my subconscious programming, and I feel really blessed and really lucky that I was able to experience that at a young age.
Did you ever talk to friends at high school about this stuff?
No, like not at all.
Not at all.
No. I don't think so. I don't remember talking about this stuff with anyone. Like, it seemed like it was just a topic of like, and I don't even remember talking about this with like, I guess like my mom would bring it up in different ways, but it wasn't like I was sitting around the dinner table talking about manifestation or law of attraction. Like my dad's not spiritual. Um, my dad's very logical minded. Yeah, I don't remember really talking about it at that age.
That's interesting. So you would have never talked to your dad about all of this stuff?
Yeah, no.
Interesting. So were you just having these conversations like on the side with your mom?
Yeah, I guess, like, when we made vision boards, it was just my mom and I, and then, I think my dad was open to it, but he wasn't, like, into it, and it's crazy because when I was making the vision board with her, I was 10 putting, like, random things on my board that made no sense, but my mom's, every single one's come true, like, every single one, and it's
Yeah.
insane because she was obviously, like, old enough to know what she wanted, it's crazy.
And yeah, it's have you looked back on yours?
No, I think it got buried in the trash, like but
Uh,
I've made vision boards since, and I'm a huge advocate for them. I love them.
I I wonder if there was a picture of Heelys on your, first one.
There wasn't. I don't think
No?
there was. I think I put, like, I remember cutting out, like, an MTV, like, award, like, I was, like, looking at the teenager magazines, like, I don't even know.
The Kids' Choice Awards.
Yeah, probably that.
Yeah. You had one of those little awards on there.
Yeah,
Nice. I mean, you just gotta commit to it, right? I guess that's kinda the interesting thing though too, right? Is if you don't really know what you're doing, you might not be aligned with picking what you truly want, right?
totally, and I think when you don't really know what you want, that confuses the universe, and so if you don't know what you want but at the time, I thought, "Maybe I want this," but I was, like, 11 years old, so it obviously shifts and changes. I mean, even as we grow up, we change what we want, and, um, I think being intentional and, like, decisive is really important.
Right. And I mean, even on top of that, like, I feel like there's at least some part of the journey or some part of the travel is, having those intermediate things of, okay, well, let's say it's a car or something, right? Like, I want this car. And as you're progressing towards it, you start to realize, like, wait, like, this isn't like, yeah, I mean, a car would be nice, but this isn't really what I wanted, you know? And so to me, it feels like it's like one of those stepping stones.
Totally. Or it could just be like something from the ego that you want instead of something that your soul wants. And so I feel like that happens all the time where you get the car and you're like, "Oh, this didn't really feel like I thought it would feel."
Right. Do you feel like that there's a unhealthy amount of using the ego to like in with things that you might be wanting to manifest?
Like me personally or just in general?
In general, if there's like personal experience or if like
I've
y-
definitely used like I've had experiences where I've manifested from the ego, and now I'm at the point where I can differentiate what is ego driven and what's not. Here's the thing, if you're manifesting from the ego, you're still gonna get it. It doesn't uh, deter you from getting it. It's just it's not gonna sometimes if it's not aligned, it might not happen, but I mean, it's not gonna feel the way you thought it would feel if it's ego driven. It's not gonna be like expansive and actually. Because I think at the end of the day, the reason why we want anything in life is because of the feelings that we think we're gonna feel when we achieve it or get it. And so a big thing I've learned through my podcast too is that we need to focus on trying to embody the feelings in the present, like through the process instead of waiting till the end. So we don't, get there and we're like, all right, what's next? Okay, like let's get to the next milestone, and we can actually enjoy the process.
I think that's a huge important, piece of the puzzle when manifesting. That's something I've definitely heard numerous people talk about. Do you feel like there's a correlation here? You mentioned it earlier, law of attraction. Have you heard of like Neville Goddard and the law of assumption?
I haven't heard of that person, but I've heard of the law of assumption. Like,
Like, yeah, core concept being like, you're attracting to you what you want, but then assumption is more just like, oh, I already have it.
yeah, no, I
Do
think
you,
that's really important. And it's more of like embodying the feelings of what it would feel like if you already had it, which I guess is kind of like law of assumption. Because when you're stepping into that version of yourself that already has whatever it is you want, already has achieved whatever it is, then you're matching the frequency of that energetic frequency of really attracting it to you because you're already, it's like a radio knob, you're already like tuned into it. So you're just going to attract it. Versus like if I'm down here and I'm like, I want it, I'm like wanting it, I'm not actually being it. So I'm not going to be able to be a match for it, if that makes sense.
no, it does. You're in the frequency of wanting versus the frequency of
Being.
being.
Yeah. And I think it's all about being. So when you say law of assumption, it's like when I assume I already have it, then I am being it. And I think that's what it comes
So do
down to.
do you feel like there's a difference between law of attraction and law of assumption?
I feel like they go hand in hand. I think um to in order to attract, you have to assume. Like you have to embody and like match that frequency in order to be a magnet to attract it.
In order for it to come like your way.
Yeah. It's like, and I think that can go into any category of your life, right? Like relationships or wealth, or, I mean, abundance is abundance in relationships, love, money, everything. So, yeah.
Interesting. That's something I've always kind of been not sure about, I guess, or always been kind of like going back and forth in my mind about, the law of attraction versus the law of assumption. And maybe partially it's just a lack of understanding both of them fully, but it feels like they cross over each other so much that it's almost the same, I guess, in my mind. But maybe there's a slight difference that I'm missing.
Yeah. To me, they feel very similar. I guess they just have, it's two different laws. So, to me, it just makes more sense that they go hand in hand. It's like you need one for the other. And then there's the law of detachment. Have you heard of that law?
I have not.
So that's the one that I learned the most the past 2 years, like from firsthand experience. And that to me, I think is the most important law there is.
Can you give the
Yeah.
listeners, the conscious monkeys, a quick rundown?
Yeah. So like let's say, okay, so whenever we're attached to something, like where we need this thing to happen in order to feel happy, achieved, accomplished, whatever it is, it's like we're suffocating it because we want it to happen so bad. Like we're so attached to it. So we're like trying to control the outcome versus like if we're detached, where actually this goes hand in hand with the law of assumption. Let's say you're in the law of assumption, you're assuming you already have whatever it is, then you're detached because you don't need that thing to happen. You already have it. So you're not going to be attached to it. You're going to be detached if you already have it. So when you're attached to something, it's like you're giving off that energy of need and you're giving off the energy of lack. You're like, I need this thing to happen. I'm gripping it so hard. And that's what I was doing with my business. And I learned like, oh, this is why I'm not seeing results because I'm literally like coming from a place of lack every day. And I didn't even realize it.
Now was it
Did I explain it right or well?
you did. I think there's, like, a lot of things going through there.
Okay.
At least it hit me as a lot.
Okay. Yeah. Let's break it down.
Let's decompress it a little. It was a good intro. It was
Okay.
a
Let's
good, like,
decompress it.
here's everything that's happening.
Okay. Let me think of like a metaphor to connect it to. I guess dating's an easy one to understand. So it's like when someone's coming across as needy or desperate, it's like you can feel that energy. You can really tell like okay, this person is attached to the idea that they need to be in a relationship versus if someone doesn't need a relationship and they're happy on their own and they feel fulfilled and like satisfied in their life and they don't need to have someone else to make them happy and feel whole, that energy is so much more attractive. And that person is going to attract more to them because they're not in the state of need and lack. They're in a state of abundance. So it's like that mentality, if you can bring that energy to money and to business, like, I mean, for my own personal example, like I was, um, trying to hit X amount in sales every month, trying to place X amount of machines every month. And every month I wasn't seeing return. And so I got discouraged month over month. Like, why am I not hitting this? And then I got even more attached. Like, I need this to happen in order to, feel accomplished. I need this to happen in order to like pay myself X. Like, I was just attaching so hard onto, the numbers I needed to hit that I stopped like having fun in the process and I stopped feeling joy and I stopped actually enjoying the journey. And then COVID happened and it actually forced me to just like fall on my face. And it really taught me everything about detachment because I had nothing to attach to. Like my business literally almost crumbled and I had nothing to do for like 3 months. And luckily, like loans helped us stay afloat. But like I realized, like, wow, my whole identity was my self-worth was like wrapped around my business. And so I needed to detach from my business in order to realize like, okay, I'm actually happy and whole and I am my own identity without my business. And once I realized that, I like didn't put that energy of lack and need into it. And I became okay with the idea that if my business were to shatter tomorrow, I will be okay and I will figure it out and I'll start something else. Or you have to be so okay with whatever it is that you want crumbling to pieces in order to like completely detach from it. And then when you show up with that energy, the universe rewards you because the universe is like, okay, this person is whole and happy and worthy on their own. They don't need anything else. So you're already becoming like a match to attracting it.
So we're definitely gonna dive into the whole business aspect of it because 'cause I'm interested there. But if there's, like, a quick way to summarize it, would it sound something along the lines of, like, you need to assume you already have it, but since you are assuming you already have it, it detaches you from wanting it? Or is it, like, more of a personal identity detachment that needs to happen?
I think it's both. I think when you assume you already have it, because if you already have something, you're not attached to it. It's like if it's like as simple as like I want water and I know I'm going to get water. Like I know I'm going to drink it, so I'm not like focusing so much on drinking water and like over attaching to it. Like I know I'm going to have it. It's like if you assume you already have it, then you're automatically detaching from it. I think, right? Like it kind of goes hand in hand. But the self-worth and identity thing I think is separate. It's like because that can play into a bunch of different roles. So yeah, with like business, it's like if you're detached, then you're detached from it being a part of your self-worth and your identity too.
Yeah, I think that there's yeah. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I really need to practice how I'm like expressing this because I'm just like verbal processing it all right now. I don't know if it
It's all
making
kind
sense to anyone else but me, but I'm
of
hoping people are catching what I'm putting out.
I mean, I think that's something that just kinda happens with podcasts. I
Yeah,
mean, even whenever you graciously hosted me on yours, I think that was something I was there's these new ideas that come up, and then you're kind of on the spot, like, "I think it's a little bit of this, but maybe it's a little bit of that," and you kinda have, like, this back and forth going on where you're trying to figure out, like, how true it is. It's like, it's a little bit of this, but it's not so much that, and you're kind of, like, walking back and forth that line.
for me, it's not that I know it's true. Like I don't feel back and forth. It's just I don't know how to express it to make it for it to make sense to anyone else because it makes so much sense to me in my head, and it's like it feels so true and feels so right. Like I know it's how the universe works. Like I've seen it firsthand in my own life how it works. Once I've detached, miracles plopped in my life. More abundance has come in than ever before. I don't need to like convince myself. It's more of I don't know how to like express it in the right way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the angle I was trying to go with it is that you have this idea, this framework of what's going on, how it's happening, but then to take that amount of knowledge, which is arguably infinite, and then to compress it down into words,
It's hard.
articulate those words.
Yeah,
Yeah. Using words I understand, using words that people are going to understand, and to summarize all that, that was what I was kind of
for sure.
trying to lay out.
Yeah, and yeah, I think finding the right words can be a challenge, but yeah, I think I don't know. I think it made sense.
Well, I mean, and to point out how crazy it is, right? We were just talking about the word assumption, attraction, and detachment, and trying to argue that they're all roughly the same thing.
That's so true. They all pretty much clump together and all mean the same thing in just different ways.
That's probably going to help like two people, and everyone else is going to be like, "What the hell are they talking
I
about?
know. Whatever.
Is there weed in the air in San Diego?"
There's really not. It's
Oh
coffee.
man. Well, speaking of coffee, let's keep going on with your story then.
Okay,
Let's
that was
get
a
to
really
the
big tangent.
no. That's hey, that's what we're here for. We're here for the wormholes.
Okay.
Um, we left off. You were in college. Let's see here. You were a rising Disney princess for wearing Heelys, the Heelys princess,
Okay.
and then it wasn't a fit for you. You changed schools. You then started going into college, and you weren't sure what. I'm losing my train of thought
What I
now
wanted my
too.
major to be.
Your memory thing's starting to leak onto me.
No, it's not. And then I basically went through college and was having fun, great college experience, made a lot of amazing connections. And I think I learned a lot just about life through college. But yeah, nothing where I was like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. But
Did you pick a major? Because I know you
yeah,
said you
it
did
was
like a
JMS,
general.
journalism media studies is what I picked. That
Well,
like
that was the general one, but then there wasn't like a one that they pushed you off onto, or
no, I just kept it broad the whole time.
okay,
You can just
gotcha.
keep it like the emphasis was in actually the emphasis was in media studies is what I decided instead of like going a different direction. Um,
I
but
mean, podcast host.
yeah,
There it comes back in again.
here we go. Yeah, it all makes sense in the end, connecting the dots, going backwards. But um, yeah, so I guess my junior year, I studied abroad in Florence, Italy,
Wow.
which was amazing, and it was
Do you speak
um,
Italian?
no, nothing, no Italian,
Uh,
but
uh,
it was, a pretty common thing for college students to do at the time, and so a bunch of my friends and I went. We chose Florence. A lot of other friends went to Barcelona, other places too. And this was second semester junior year, and so I guess on the campus itself there was this bulky looking, like nothing special looking, but this espresso vending machine, and there was always a line of students waiting for a cup of coffee from this vending machine, and I remember thinking, that's interesting. I've never seen anyone like a line of kids or people waiting for a vending machine before. And one day during the break, I thought, might as well just try it. And I tried it, and it was actually really good quality espresso. And that was kind of it. Didn't think twice about it. I was like, well, that's interesting. Something you see in Europe. And Fast forward a couple weeks later, my younger brother was in the library studying for finals at like 12 a.m. in UT in Austin, called me, and it was like the afternoon my time. And he was like, Teal, I have the best idea. And I was like, what? He was like, I'm in the library. There's nothing open. It's 12 a.m., crashing for finals. What if we started a high quality coffee vending machine that students and like kids actually loved? And we called it Vendy Bean. And I was like, I literally just saw this concept in my school. Like it was a light bulb moment, you know? And I was like, this whole fire, like passion, consuming, feeling took over my body where I was like, this is what I meant to do. Like it felt so right. Um, and it was funny because we joke about it now, and he wasn't inviting me to do it with him. He just told me about this idea that he had, but I was like, no, this is like 100% what I'm supposed to do. And so we're doing this together. He was 2 years younger. So like he was just starting college and I was about to go into my senior year. And so it was perfect timing for me to figure out like what to do next in the next chapter. So I guess that whole summer before my senior year, I spent just like calling different vending manufacturers and picking their brains and asking them 1,000 questions about the industry. And I learned really quickly that the vending industry is archaic and it's pretty much just was like run by middle-aged men, and every single person told me that getting in the coffee vending industry was the stupidest thing you could do, and it's a dying industry and everyone's getting out. And I remember thinking like this is all the validation I needed. Like this was exactly like this is perfect. Like these guys don't get it. They're old, they don't see the vision. Um and I felt like I saw the concept and I just saw it working so clearly. And so, fast forward, basically all of senior year, I've spent just like executing and working on this and kind of like, I still was doing school, but wasn't my priority. And, um, eventually we launched the first prototype my senior year. I convinced this apartment by our school or like by the campus to let us place this machine. We took a loan from our dad for $6,000 to buy this machine. Our family friend helped us. He was like in branding and design, helped us brand the whole thing with the logo, the cups, everything. And I kind of just like, we taught ourselves everything we knew about. It was kind of just like doing, there was nothing really else to do besides, executing. And we ended up launching it. And I just remember thinking like it was the best day of my life because it was something that we were working on for a year or like, I guess half of a year. And it actually coming into reality and thinking like, wow, now it exists in the real world. And it was incredible, like seeing something come to life. But the
That's
funniest thing
beautiful.
about the whole story is that the coffee was absolutely disgusting. Like the actual product was
I
horrible.
was gonna ask.
Yeah, like it was actually horrible. And it was funny because I promoted it in the school paper. All my best friends, I don't know if you saw my last Instagram post of the video. It was the video from launch
Maybe.
day. And I had all my best friends repping Benny Bean branded tanks and hats. And we were like, super high energy, screaming at students, like getting everyone to try the coffee, giving out free coffee for hours, blasting music, had the best time. But the coffee was so gross.
Yeah, who did that get overlooked in the production?
We picked the wrong machine. We did a lot of things wrong, but I don't regret it at all because we learned so much from it and we wouldn't be where we are today if we didn't make those mistakes in the beginning.
I'm curious, what you were saying at the one point where you were calling uh oh my gosh, what are they called? The vending
Manufacturers.
machine. You were talking to the vending machine companies and you said that they were like archaic, it was older people. Why were they getting out of coffee? Why did they feel like it was dying?
Because the actual technology was horrible and the logistics behind the maintenance of them is a pain in the ass, and that's why there aren't a lot of, competitors out there today because it's not just like going up to a vending machine and stocking consumer packaged goods with, like, snacks and sodas. This is actual, um, product where it grinds. I mean, our machines now, the machines at the time didn't grind the beans, but it's like grinds the beans. It creates actual espresso based beverages. So it's a lot more cleaning that's involved with the whole operation versus just like um, supplying it with, wrapped snacks and sodas and cans.
Right, where you can just have one person go in, changes things out, or open the door, load it up, take the money.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, the manufacturers we're talking to were all American or not like US based manufacturers, and that was our first mistake. So the machine itself, they weren't wrong. It was a piece of shit, and so it was just horrible. But I didn't realize at the time that was the issue was we needed to outsource overseas, and so we learned that
I was gonna
the hard
I
way.
was gonna ask I was like, maybe I'm jumping ahead of the story, but would you have gone to, like, a place in Europe or Italy even
Yeah, I
where
don't know why I
they
didn't
have
think
these
about
machines?
that because I saw it in Europe, but I thought I don't know, I just wasn't thinking big enough. I wasn't thinking that was possible. I was so young and like I thought there could be an easier way. Like there was a manufacturer right in LA that we got this machine from, and I thought, they didn't exist in the US yet, like American or European vending machines or
Alright.
um, outsourced from China or Japan or, where they actually are popular and common. So I wasn't thinking that way yet. And so, we launched that prototype. And for me, it was kind of all the validation I needed because I saw the concept. I saw a need for the concept and I saw that students were excited about it. And I saw the whole idea, like the branding was on point. The idea was there, like the concept was there, but the product wasn't. So to me, that was like an easy fix. It's like going back to the drawing boards and just doing R&D to perfect the product.
So whenever you had the first coffee machine, was that just like a standard model you got from somebody?
Yeah, no, that was a standard coffee vending machine from a manufacturer, but we branded it ourselves, like custom branded it.
Right, like fitted the outside with like your brand and stuff.
Mhm.
And so then you needed to well, so then let me see here. Let me try to get the story situated a little bit. So you had this product, you created it, you used a vending machine from in the United States, and then the coffee wasn't that good. Was that a product of the fact that the beans you chose or the way that machine worked?
No, it had nothing to do with the actual product, it was the machine. The machine itself was just really, um, janky, like low, you know, not really functional. It wasn't innovative enough, the capabilities weren't there. Um, yeah, it was the machine itself, you couldn't it was all, ground coffee with filter systems, not, grinding beans to cup, which our machines do now.
So at that point, was that whenever you realized the coffee wasn't doing too well, is that when you reached out to a European manufacturer?
So what happened was it was funny because we were posting all over Twitter and social media. We got interest from this investor. And so this person reached out, wanted to invest, and we leveraged he actually owned a coffee shop. And so his whole team who does like the coffee roasting and I guess coffee tastings taught us a lot about coffee. And it was really cool that we got to leverage that. But the actual person ended up being kind of like fake. Like he didn't actually have the funds to invest and it didn't um it
Uh,
didn't turn out. We learned a lot from it, but yeah, it was kind of like an interesting situation, but we learned a lot through like his team, which was really cool, and we got to use his warehouse for free. It was awesome. But then, fast forward a little bit more, we raised family and friend round. So a family friend invested, and from there, we found the manufacturer overseas in Colombia, and we bought one machine, and then we basically custom made a lot of the technology with them to like reverse for the American market because a lot of it didn't make sense for the American market. It was more tailored towards the European market. So we worked with them to really tailor the technology. And it was a lot of dialing in the recipes with local roasters here and like really getting the product perfected with them too. Cause they're the best, the biggest coffee snobs, biggest coffee connoisseurs. And we were just learning about coffee. Like we loved it, but we didn't know much about it at that point. So it was really fun. It was a really fun creative process being able to do that.
you said that the machines were adjusted. Is that like UI, like interface, like user interface kind of stuff? Is that programming?
Yeah, it's
Like,
more of programming and with the actual recipes, like dialing in and customizing the capabilities for the amount of grams for each drink and um, adjusting like the the bean size, the hopper, the espresso, like how many grounds of beans are going in, etc. So it was a lot of like customization in that way. But I mean, now the innovation we're working on is tenfold. This was in the very beginning. Um, but yeah, no, and we still work with that same manufacturer today.
Oh, okay, cool. You still got it going.
Yeah.
When did you guys start this? It would have been 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
So the beta that we launched was my senior year, 2016, and then we took a year off and kind of just like raised the round and did a bunch of R&D, and we relaunched in 20 end of 2017. So I wouldn't
Okay,
say we were like really we weren't like making money from a machine in a public location till like end of 2017.
okay. And how was that? How did that do?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of trial and error. Like we had to figure out what kind of location this would make sense for, and also we had to convince them to let us place the machine in their building, right? And it was
All right.
definitely a challenge. Like in the beginning, it was an insane amount of rejection. Like I think I got over 100 no's before I got my first yes. And I remember getting super discouraged thinking like, are we the only ones that think this is going to work? Like, does no one else believe in this vision like we do? And eventually, you get your first big name client and then you can use them for credibility purposes. And it's kind of like a snowball, but getting that first person to believe in you, our first client, I think took us some time.
That's wild. I'm surprised you wouldn't have been able to go to like the schools and say, "Hey, throw this in your library for, whenever your coffee shops close up."
Yeah, no, San Diego State was very challenging. They like were throwing me in 1,000 directions and not being super supportive. So, yeah,
That's unfortunate.
yeah,
Well, we don't have to
lot,
give them too much airtime.
yeah, lots of red tape.
Yeah. Is it, you're saying that it's difficult to clean, difficult to do different stuff. Do you have to have like a technician go out there and like fix all that stuff for you?
So, yeah, I mean, in the beginning, my brother and I, there was no US based tech team. We had to teach ourselves how to break these machines down and put them back together. So,
Well,
we became, over those first 2 years, we became vending technicians. I'd constantly be going to different machines to fix grinder jams, replace parts, cleaning and restocking the machines every weekend. They need to be cleaned and restocked every week. So, it was a lot of manual labor, but if we didn't learn how to do that ourselves and like we didn't know how the machines worked to the best of our ability, like, and Tristan, actually, my brother, became way more knowledgeable than I ever was. Like he actually like was naturally really good at this, is at breaking things apart and really building the machine back and fixing different parts of the technology. But for me, it was definitely something I had to rewire my mindset to teach myself that I'm like, I can do this kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, luckily we were able to master it, because if we weren't able to do that, we wouldn't be able to hire other people and really train them, and know exactly what their roles entail.
I mean, that's when you know if you know something is if you're able to teach it to somebody else.
Totally.
How Now to get a little bit back to the spirituality, is this playing any role in the success of you and the company? Are you meditating, doing any spiritual practices, maybe vision boards with regards to the company?
Yes. So I guess backtrack to my senior year of college, I was diagnosed with this like health condition um that basically I think was the catalyst for my like spiritual journey and more of like inward self-reflective journey, where basically um it's a really random like health issue. But I had to get jaw surgery, where essentially like the joints in my head became arthritic, where they basically just started like resorbing and shrinking. So I found that out by my bite. Like I had braces growing up. My bite was like totally normal, but in college, my bite started morphing. And so like I had a really big open bite by the time I finished college. And the only way to fix this problem was to get reconstructive jaw surgery, where they break your upper and lower jaw. You have to get braces after graduating college, and they wire your mouth shut and like rebuild it back together. And so your mouth is wired shut for like a couple months, and you really can only blend food and like drink liquids. And um, that entire journey for me was, I think, the start of like my own spiritual journey.
That's like what got the process started.
Yeah, because it was the first time where I mean, I felt extremely alone. I felt like a victim. I was like, "Why is this happening to me?" Like, I felt like that was my rock bottom, like, I was in a really low place, like, had to get braces after graduating college, like, you're supposed to start your life, not, like, reverse backwards when you know what I mean? And, like, having to go through that, well, I had a really bad lisp because my bite was open, and so was super self-conscious about how I was speaking. Um, I was going through skin issues, like acne at the time too, and um, just a bunch of things were going against me, I felt like, and this whole jaw surgery I felt was gonna, like, put me back, and, that whole it was pretty much like a year of my life I had to really focus on, like, healing, and, um, that's when I started meditating, I started journaling, I started watching YouTube videos of all these inspirational people who I still look up to this day, and learning way more about, like, the mindset and how important the mind really is, and, yeah, I think that was in 2016, 2017. That was the year after I graduated. The summer after I graduated is when I was, like, really forced for the first time to, like, reflect and dive inward.
And that's whenever you notably also started putting the vending machines up with 17.
Yeah, so that was, by the time I had my surgery, I had a couple machines out. They were in, like, random places, like a rock climbing gym, I can't remember other like a salon, like, it was, like, random places that I convinced certain people to let us place the machines in to get some feedback. So, it was the very beginning of our business, um, but, yeah, I remember my brother had to, like he was still in college in Austin and had to, like, fly out and help out with, like, the routes, which is cleaning and restocking the machines while I was, like, under in surgery for a couple months recovering.
Wow. So it really took a team effort to get it working.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it was a team effort from the beginning.
That's pretty cool. But it's something I find interesting, at least, is they say not to get into business with friends and family. You feel like that hasn't been an issue for you too?
No, I kinda feel like there's no one else that I could really like, I think I'd rather go in business with my brother than a friend, because with your sibling, there's no other level of trust that you can have than with your family, I think, and that level of closeness, like, the challenging part is boundaries, right? Where it's, like, setting boundaries to where you have to start really being able to respect that person and treat them like a colleague and put those lines up of where you're not, don't text and call this person every, second of the day. Those are things that are hard to
Right.
implement, in a sense of like differentiating those two categories. But I think, luckily for us, we had a great yin and yang where our skill sets really complemented each other and it worked really well.
That's awesome. Do you talk to your brother about like the spirituality type stuff?
Yeah, for sure. And he knows I'm like this, but I would say he's open minded and he can be spiritual in a sense, but um I wouldn't say, like, to the extent that I am. I don't know if I think it's there inside of him. He just needs to, um, discover it.
Allow it in.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this is something I've noticed, and I get mixed reviews on this, so I'm curious what you think. Do you feel like you see more women or men in the spirituality space?
I I think maybe because 'cause I'm a woman and I have attracted a lot of other friends, like, women into my life that are on the same wavelength. I don't think it's one or the other. I just think I know more women in my life that are than men. The more but, like, I'm meeting more and more men who are spiritual too. So it's just like finding them. But I don't know. I would say more women, but that's just because of my circle.
Okay.
What do you
I feel like
believe?
I feel I'm not sure. I feel like I see more women, and my mind goes to thinking it's more of just like an empathetic or emotional kind of thing. Like a lot I believe that a lot of intuition goes into kind of spirituality in general, right? Like there's really no like that's a weird way to put it, but like there's like no physical item that like you can drop a ball, right? And we can measure that it dropped at the acceleration of the drop was 9.8, meters per second squared. We can measure, these different aspects of it. But like I feel like there's something with personally, I feel like something where women are like almost closer emotionally to kind of these things. And so it
I think what it
allows them a
is,
closer
yeah, no,
grasp to it.
what you were saying, like, along the lines, I think what it is I think men grab onto needing more proof and logical minded, and they are more like they need to see that rational aspect of things, whereas, I mean, for me, I can't speak for, like, all women, but I feel like I gravitate more towards, um, the intuitive side, like, the feeling, clairsentient, like, having a gut feeling versus, like, having to see actual living proof or evidence,
Do you think that makes it easier for you to like imagine?
for sure, I think.
Do you have like really vivid like imagination?
Yeah, I think I've always had a vivid imagination when it comes to, like, daydreaming and whatnot, but then when you talk about, like, meditation, I don't have a lot of vivid, meditations where I'm actually seeing visuals. That doesn't happen for me, but it more happens when I'm, like, driving, or if I'm, like, about to go to sleep or just waking up, I'll have, like, vivid daydreams, but it's not, I don't know, I think it's different for me when it comes to, because I know a lot of people who have very vivid, like, daydreams or visuals within meditation.
Really? I've never heard the differentiation there.
Yeah, I don't know. I was talking to a couple of friends the other night, and they have very, like, distinct visual, experiences when they're meditating. That's never happened to me before yet.
Have you tried to, or is it just like
Yeah, I mean, I definitely try to, and I don't know what it is. I think it's like just doesn't I don't get there. I think when I'm trying to, it doesn't happen, but if I'm driving or if I'm, like, getting into my subconscious state, it just flows, like, naturally
it just kind of comes out?
versus, like, trying to force it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I never really try to force it, but like, so when you meditate, what's something you usually like would see? It's just dark.
Yeah. Like, or thoughts pop in. It's like thoughts, and I'll see that, but I'm not, like, visualizing what the meditation's telling me to visualize.
Oh, okay. So you're saying like if you use a guided meditation and they
Yeah,
have visual stuff in it, it's hard for you to actually visualize those things.
exactly, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know. I think it's a block I'm trying to, like, work through, but
Do you think there's any relation to the what it seemed to me like you kind of blocked out a lot of like the acting stuff? It seemed to me like you did. Maybe you didn't. I don't know what you think, but it sounded like you were just recollecting all that, recalling all that. Do you think there's a connection there at all?
I don't know. I really don't. I think my memory, it's like if I don't think about something for a long time, I feel like it just suppresses naturally. Like, I haven't thought about the acting thing in so long. Like, I don't think there's a reason why I'm really not embarrassed about that part of my life. There's no reason why I'd be, like, suppressing it intentionally. Um, there definitely are things in my life that I for sure have suppressed and, like, you know, and blocking. But it's not the acting thing. I think when it comes to,
Okay.
like, meditating and visuals, I think everyone has different, like, gifts that they resonate more with. For me, I'm way more in, like, feeling. Like, I have gut feelings and knowings where it's like, and that's called clairsentient, where it's not really I forget what it's called when you see, I'm blanking, like, clairaudient is when you hear, but I don't
It's
it's
like
not maybe
clairvoyance.
it's clairvoyant, but that's never been something that um I guess, resonate with. I'm more of, like, a feeling person, and, like, I can
Okay.
sense other people's energy really well and, like, walk into a room and get the vibe right off the bat, or I will get gut feelings or intuitive downloads and feelings all the time where I'm just like, I know that's what I need to do. And I don't need to explain it to anyone. I don't need to rationalize it in my mind. Whereas a lot of men, I think, need to rationalize it. And that's where they get caught up. Like, my brother and I will get in fights where I'm like, this is my gut feeling. He's like, I don't give a fuck about your gut feeling. Like, this is business and we have to do it this way. I'm like, it's like, that's the disconnect.
Yeah. But maybe that's good for, business relationships that you
It
have that,
is. It's great.
like,
It's
stress
great
and
yin and
chaos.
yang.
Yeah. No, I could definitely relate to that, though, and it's kinda something we also touched on was, like, that need for structure versus that chaotic, like, "Oh, well, this just feels right," and it's so hard. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but and maybe it's a masculine quality where it's just, like, so hard for you to kinda put your faith in something else, something else mystical, something else that's not you, like, to trust your gut in a sense.
Yeah, but I feel like if you reframe thinking that it's not you, it is you, you know?
That's a good point. Well, that's getting pretty deep though there.
Yeah, it's like you just don't think about it. I don't think about it as like it's not me. I think about it as it's like you know, the real me.
The authentic.
Yeah, it's like your soul versus like
Yeah.
your ego.
So, I guess it would be more of ego protection that would be keeping you from trusting your gut feeling?
Yeah, for sure. Cause the ego is like the brain that's trying to say, oh, but that's not rational. Oh, like it gaslights yourself. Like you gaslight yourself saying, like, why are you, second guessing everything you're intuitively feeling. And then, you know, maybe you'll do what your ego wants and you're like, I should have not listened to that. And it made me get in this situation where now you know, I regret it.
It's funny, when you were kinda, like, talking about that, I have actually kind of experienced the opposite, where I get that, like, intuitive download, and maybe it's kind of the same thing, but there's, like, one particular instance that's sticking out where you get that, like, I got a download, let's say, that it was like, okay, essentially something was never gonna happen again, and I was like, "Nope, fuck that," like, I'm gonna put all of my ego into making that thing happen again, and now we're sitting here, it still hasn't, but it's become that it becomes this like force of just like wanting it's like fighting yourself almost. It's like I want this to be wrong. It's like I want this intuitive thing to be wrong so that I'm right. But meanwhile, like you said, it's still a part of you. It's like you're having this internal war over something that isn't necessary.
Yeah, it's like you're battling with yourself. It's like, why can't we just become in alignment and not be fighting ourselves?
And it's so interesting because I'm trying to relate this to my one thing, but maybe there's a level of like there's that societal or cultural imprint that gets placed and is more guarded by your ego, or your ego almost attaches maybe more to the culture or societal stigma. And so that I don't know, maybe I'm up for debate on that one, but I'm just spitballing here. But then that like covers up your true authentic self or that thing that is for your highest good or best interest.
I feel like you need to tell me what you're talking about because you kind of lost me there.
Okay.
Like I knew.
Um, oh, am I getting a little too vague maybe?
Yeah, I think it's too vague, so
Um,
I can't understand where you're going with it.
well, I mean,
Or just
I guess I'm I guess I'm kinda trying to keep it vague because I want it to be a more metaphysical conversation, right, as opposed to
okay.
this, like, specific instance.
So
I'm
reframe what
thinking
you're
it
saying.
okay, let's try to restart that. Let's do a little rewind.
Do you hear my dog or is it okay?
No, I haven't heard him yet.
Okay. He's whimpering a lot. Just making
Oh,
sure.
okay. Yeah, we'll double check on the reel or the clip, whatever it's called. Um, I'm losing my train of thought. Oh, man. What were we talking about? The ego and something else. Oh, fighting yourself, getting intuitive download.
Getting into
Yeah.
alignment.
Yeah. So, hmm, like if there's, it's like that car, right? Let's use the car for it. Well, I guess we're getting into a specific example, but if it's like a car that you want, and like you get this intuition that you're never going to get the car, but your ego is still sitting there saying like, no, we're going to get it, we're going to make it happen, this is what the way is. It's like at what level are you now just fighting at? Like, are you fighting the journey? Maybe it's more of just like fighting the journey.
I see what you're saying. You're like trying to control the outcome to where you're not letting things like flow and play out and surrendering to like the universe.
Yeah, I guess so. I heard that. I'm not sure what that was, but I
My
heard
dog is
that.
being the worst. He's a puppy and just like crying like crazy.
And
It's
he's
fine.
being
He'll
animated.
he'll get over it.
Yeah, he's been good so far.
But yeah, no, I don't know. It's like I think everyone kind of like I guess for my own spiritual journey. Did you ever read Journey of Souls? I forget if we talked about
No,
this.
I think you recommended it, but I haven't gotten into it yet.
Cuz that to me was like the what opened my eyes to like actual spiritual and like not I don't even know if it's considered spirituality, but like I guess the state of consciousness that I'm currently living in.
Okay, it's
And
gotten you to like the next
it's just gotten
level.
me to my own to where how I view the world now, like my outlook and my views of like how the universe works. And I feel like what you're saying with men versus women, like I think a lot of men I actually have a guy friend who loved two guy friends who loved the book and like really resonated with it and their outlooks changed too. So I don't know. I think just a lot more men have a lot of pushback. You know, they need more rational proof, but it just
Well,
depends.
let's talk about the book for a bit because I see it says it's a case study of life between lives. So is
Yeah.
it
So basically, and what's interesting is there's two other books out there very similar, written by different people, so they're all written by hypnotherapists where they get thousands of people, like their patients, into a hypnotic state. And it's like a subconscious hypnotic state where they get them into where they're asking them all these questions and they all say the same thing, which is like you can't make that up. Like for me, I was like, there's no way all these patients like get into hypnotic states and regurgitate the same information throughout three different authors, three different books, all these case studies. And it's so interesting because it's Journey of Souls. It's the journey of what happens to when you die and like what happens in spirit world, like in the afterworld, the other side. And when I
and is
read
that what they're repeating? Is that what they're like repeating that's been validated?
yeah, exactly. And it you goes into so many different realms because there's, you know, the part where you when you first cross over and then there's what happens in spirit world on the other side. And they all go into different parts of the journey and it's all crossed over. Like I mean not crossover, it's all like um I guess there's a bunch of crossover. Like they all say a lot of the same things and it's they all say the same messages throughout the different books too, which is so interesting. But when I read this book for the first time, it was like an aha. It was like, oh my God, I know this. Like I felt like I was remembering it for the first time, but it wasn't like I was learning it. It was more of a remembrance. And it felt so deeply true to me. And I don't know, it's like one of those things where I just intuitively felt like this was so right. And it's changed my entire outlook of how I view the world. And I mean, I can get into it too on like what the basic like
Please, I'm interested to hear what these
and I
commonalities
guess the
are.
main takeaways that I had from it are essentially that we're all souls, we're all these infinite beings, right? And we're all one and we're all connected. And we reincarnate into these human bodies that we choose for ourselves. Like we pre-select our life in spirit world and basically we all have our own like soul cluster and crew of the same people that we reincarnate with together. So essentially like the metaphor they give is it's life is kind of like a play and you all pick different characters you're going to play in each life together and the purpose is to really learn certain lessons in this life and you all have your own roles that you play and you come to life on earth and we know that life on earth is like the hardest fucking planet to have. It's like very dense here, like we know that going into it and we incarnate knowing that and we come here knowing like what lessons are we really trying to learn and what karmic cycles are we here to break and the whole purpose is to really evolve and ascend as souls. And it's like you're all evolving and ascending together in your cluster and like getting to the next level. So it's like you come here and you fuck up, you do it all over again kind of thing. And it's
Wow.
so interesting because it's like kind of gamifies life in a sense where you're like, I mean, you shouldn't not take life seriously, but you also should like have fun with life because it's like, you know what I mean? It's like you should come here and want like try to be the best person you possibly can. And obviously not like think it's a joke because it's karma is real and cause and effect. But it's like if you understand how to leverage these different laws of the universe of like we were saying law of assumption, attachment, like it's all energy, we're all connected. And it's like once we can leverage that, we can actually like have fun playing this game and know how it works to like leverage it to our advantage.
I mean, there's a lot there to break down.
I know, but this book, like, changed my life, and I don't know, I have friends who didn't like it, but I guess they liked other books that were similar, like the other ones I was mentioning, but because this one's pretty
Well,
repetitive, and, I mean, I loved it.
and I'm interested if people listening felt the same way, but, like, even as you were talking about, like, what was the phrase you used? You said something about, like, your souls are together and then reenacting out this play. Like, I could kinda feel tears coming to my eyes, like, not in a sad way, but, like, in that knowing way that you were talking about, where it's, like, this overwhelming energy coming out of nowhere that's, like, making me cry.
Right? And that's how I felt the whole book where I was like, "I fucking knew this. This is all feels so real inside of me." And that's your intuition and your soul saying like, yes, like you're remembering. Like we're supposed to remember, At least if you're not everyone's supposed to remember. I think some people aren't meant to wake up in this life, but I think as a collective, more people are waking up now than ever. And it's conversations like this that can inspire it for people. You know what I mean?
And, I mean, that comes back to the whole crux of why I started this podcast, I guess,
Totally.
was to go on to this and to discover this stuff for myself and talk to the people who are discovering it, and shit, I mean, this book definitely got higher up on my list.
No, yeah. I mean, it it was amazing. Like it really made a huge impact on my life. And then what's crazy is you start reading other books in the spiritual category and they all say the same messages in different ways. So it's like it just starts making sense. All the puzzles start fitting together, everything starts clicking and you just start like having more and more breakthroughs every day. But it's like you can read something one day and then you read it like it gets mirrored back to you in real life and then it will click and you'll have this aha moment and you're like, "Oh my god, it all makes sense." And then it just
Yeah, you
continues to
need
happen over and over again.
you get, like, this, like, validation somehow from the outside world. Like, you say it enough time internally, then the outside world's like, "Yep, here you go."
Yeah, but you have to learn it yourself. Like someone else can't tell you it for you to learn it.
And this probably leads into a great way for business. It's like you can read all the business books in the world, but until you start your own business, you have no idea how to do it.
Exactly. And I think starting your own business and being an entrepreneur teaches you I think it's like a flash course on self. Can you hear that?
A little bit.
Oh my god. It's like self-discovery. It's like you learn so much about yourself through entrepreneurship because it really challenges you and pushes you to your core. And I think, yeah, from business books and learning through other, people's stories on podcasts, that's not going to really like teach you how to start your own business.
Right. Right. I mean, you just have to start doing it. It's like even podcasting, for instance, like you can listen to 500 podcasts, but that doesn't mean that you can just start and set up your own podcast and start pressing record. I mean, I don't know. I guess you kind of can. Maybe that's a bad
No, but
analogy.
it's true. Like when I was listening to podcasts before I started my own, I was always listening to the guest. Right? And then once I started my own, I started listening to the host, and it changes your whole perspective because you don't realize how hard it is to actually, um, guide a conversation and be a host versus, like, the guest. It changes your whole thought process around it, and it made me start to overthink actually the host side of things because I was never thinking about it like that beforehand. And then you start it yourself and you're like, oh shit, like I actually have to guide this and, control where the conversation goes, but also allow it to flow and then stay present in the conversation. It's just like a lot goes on in your mind where you don't think about that before you start it.
No. That's actually a good point because even like it's like as you're talking, I'm trying to there's like this mixture of me trying to listen to what you're saying and then okay, if she ends it after this sentence, what am I thinking of? To kind of keep that conversation going.
Exactly. And that's a skill. I think that's something that you have to practice. And it's not something that, at least for me, it wasn't, I didn't think about having to have that skill beforehand.
You didn't think about having yeah, you kinda just, like, have been flowing with it?
Well, no, I was always just thinking about it from the guest side of things, listening to podcasts. Like, I never thought
Uh,
about it as like, "Oh, that person actually asks great questions to and, you know, uh, create this, like, amazing conversation that just flows so effortlessly."
and that's kinda yeah, something to, give the credit where it due, like, you kinda have to see that balance, right, of, what do you pick up on to talk about next? It's like, where are we going after this? Like, it's finding the right words that or the right items that have, like, the most charge to them or something like that, where you wanna just pick up on those threads and kinda try to pull those strings.
Totally.
So, what's up with, Vendy Bean? You're gonna let's flick back to that real
Oh,
quick.
yeah,
What's the
so
latest
much is
there?
going on. I'm really excited about this year in particular just because it's kind of like the year of innovation for us and the year of partnerships. And I guess right now we have 180 machines out in the
Wow.
wild, and we're currently like set up shop in Southern California, like Orange County, LA, San Diego, Dallas, Texas, North Carolina, like the Triangle area, and then we're opening up Seattle this next quarter. And
Let me cut
yeah.
you off real quick because I just realized that we're already on the ascent. You're going back up. We need to chop it back because you said in 2020, whenever everything kinda fizzled
Oh, I
down.
you mean like I skipped a whole chapter?
Yeah, I'll take the blame for it
Okay,
being the
because I thought you were
host.
talking about the
I
present. Okay, so
I
let's go
I
back.
was I was, but I just realized after you started talking, I was like, "Wait, wait, wait. We need to hear the where you guys were when you're at your lowest."
Okay, yeah, let's go back. So back to COVID. Okay, so fast or rewind to January 2020. We're like starting to hit our goals for the first time ever. We're like about to hit our numbers. We were super excited.
What were those numbers?
It was going to be like $1 million company. So basically a little over 100K a month.
Okay.
And um, we're on track. And then COVID happens, literally. And my brother and I were convinced it was gonna be like a 3-week thing. We're like, "Okay, this will pass." Like, I'm sure a lot of people thought this, like, there was memes about it. And, my dad was like, "This isn't going anywhere. You guys need to get realistic." And we're like, "No, no, no, like, it'll pass." And then we actually, like, the rug gets ripped out from under us, and we realize, like, "Oh, shit." And our revenue just, like, 95% dropped, and I was in such a low place. Like I remember I think about 2 months straight, I just felt like depressed. Like I was like, I have no purpose. I don't know what to do with myself. I went on long walks, like hour-long walks throughout the day. That's all I would do and listen to podcasts and cry. Like I just
Jeez.
felt so sad and low and thinking like, it's also hard because I had a lot of friends who had companies that were skyrocketing during this time. And watching that, like I was happy for them, but then seeing my company crumble, I was like, why did I choose this industry? Like, it just made me question everything of like, why is the universe doing this to me? Like questioning my beliefs on manifestation, everything. And that was probably like 2.5, 3 months. And then I went to this rock that I go to, like overlooking the ocean, and I just had this meltdown. And I remember um, crying and then just asking the universe, like, what do I do? Like, what's going to happen? I'm so scared. Like, something we've been putting our like blood, sweat, and tears into the past 4 or 5 years is essentially like crumbling to pieces and could be completely destroyed. And I just felt this like wave rush over me of surrender, like out of nowhere. It was like this feeling. And I was like, everything's going to be okay. I need to stop focusing on everything that's going wrong and just start focusing on having fun and feeling joy again. And this was just like an intuitive feeling that I had. And so I made a conscious effort to put my energy into things like that I could enjoy and learn and have fun doing. So for me, like at that time, that was TikTok. Like I loved TikTok. It was like up and coming. I had so much fun on this app. I was learning these dances with my friends, doing all these pranks, like having the time of my life on this app, right? Not getting anything out of it besides just having fun. And then my brother introduced me drop shipping. I took a course on drop shipping, started making Shopify websites for fun, and was just like learning new skills and having a lot of fun doing it. I took this like other random course, and then Tristan and I decided to start dabbling with creating our own direct to consumer coffee products. So we started, we first also got SBA loans. So that helped us stay afloat during this time. So we started having fun branding, creating our own like product line, morphing or migrating our website to Shopify and having fun doing that. And then as like we're in the process of like really in like having fun in this creative um, process, this Marine reached out to us on Facebook and said, like in a Facebook DM and said, I can get you guys on Camp Pendleton's military base. And I
Whoa.
remember thinking, like, there's just no way this is real. Like, this guy's full of shit. So I told Tristan, and he was like, yeah, I mean, let's talk to him and see what he says. I was like, yeah, for sure. So we talked to him on the phone. He seems like a very genuine guy. We met him in person. One meeting led to the next meeting. One meeting, like, then he introduced us to the director of procurement at Camp Pendleton. One thing led to the next, and we got a contract with Camp Pendleton, first military contract, 20 machines on Camp Pendleton's military base. And it was like this massive eye-opening experience to a whole niche that we've never touched, right? This whole new market of military that doesn't close down in pandemics because the military doesn't close. And so it showed me that once you start feeling good and being high vibe, like you become a magnet for attracting opportunities to you versus if you're sulking and sad and depressed and feeling so low. Like the second I stopped caring about it, something popped in and it was a total miracle, and it opened my eyes to so much. And so now we're on 5 military bases and just growing. And it really did save us during COVID. And then luckily from there, things started opening up. We got, business started coming back. Schools, or not schools, but offices, companies started coming back because we do corporate office coffee as well as like retail for college campuses, hospitals, and military now. But we have 2 models. So essentially everything that we serviced was closed at the time.
That's wild. Something I wanna try to focus in on, you were saying that it was kind of, like, all going wrong, you had, like, the self-doubt, self-criticism, and then there was a pivot, and you said that there was, like, a wave that came over you that said surrender, and then after that, everything kinda took off. Was it something that you read or heard or you were doing that, like, invoked this feeling of surrender?
I honestly don't remember if it was anything I read. I think it was just this feeling that I had intuitively, like in that moment. It was like a download in a sense. And then also during this period, like it was after that I read Journey of Souls. It all like in that chunk of COVID where I had nothing to do is when I started reading spiritual books. And Journey of Souls was the first one. So that was like a very interesting time period because I really started becoming more conscious and aware and like tapping into spirituality. So that's when that started playing a role in my life, which is interesting. But yeah, I don't remember if it was before or after I read the book, but I want to say it was before I read the book that I had that experience.
That's interesting because you had that experience and then the books found you and then this military guy found you and then now it's
Yeah,
taken off.
totally. It just shows you that there's no coincidences, like everything's so synchronistic.
That's interesting. That was something that one of my buddies on an earlier podcast, James, he was asking me like, do you believe everything is everything happens for a reason? And I was like, at the time I didn't really know what to say, but I mean now it's like, yeah. I mean, and that's like to me that's something that you could prove at the most logical sense and then, spiritually as well.
Yeah, and it's like I can look back and say so many reasons why COVID happened for me that helped me. Like if it weren't for COVID, I would have never learned about detachment, truthfully. It like taught me I needed to learn in a really hard way to like knock me off my feet or else I would have never fully detached and I would have never had the awakening to realize that my whole self-worth was revolved around my business or else, because I never felt so, I felt like I had zero purpose when Vendy Bean wasn't existent for a couple months. And like, that's not normal. Like, you shouldn't feel that way. And so I needed that experience to happen to show me all of this. And, I think it did a lot of things for a lot of people.
Sounds like a parakeet.
My dog, it's so distracting. I wanna, like
You're doing a great job. I've only heard him a couple times.
he's
He
going
pushes
off. I'm glad you can't hear him that much. Oh my god. I just lost my train of thought, but
You were talking about how COVID has been devastating for some people, but for you, it
well,
seems
no, I
like
think it's been devastating for a lot of people, but even the people who it was devastating for, like, they learned something from it. Like, it taught them something that they might not realize it in that moment, but they look back and it gave them the chance to be able to reflect and go inward and realize, like, okay, I actually hate my job and I shouldn't be doing this anymore, or, whatever the realization was.
I mean, I was in that same exact boat. I mean, to me, I think it probably highlights a very probably life. How do I want to phrase this? Like something that we can all point to, right? It's like, okay, this tragic thing happened to everybody, right? It happened to all of us. So we can all say that we've all been impacted by it in some way, shape, or form. I think it really kind of it kind of was a reset button in a sense where it's like, okay, we're going to see the people who want to be a victim to what has occurred, and then we're going to see the people who actually want to just, get up by their bootstraps or focus on the positives and kind of really, I don't want to say, divide, but it kind of has like highlighted the people that have gone either way or still trying to make that way towards the positive.
Definitely. And I think I went through all the phases. Like, first was victim, and then I was like, okay, how do I, get out of this low headspace? And then I learned that. And then I realized way later looking back, like, oh, that's why that happened for me. It's like, it didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And I think once people shift their mindset, then they can start to realize what they actually gain from the experience.
Which is really the crux of it, right? Is like sometimes you don't know why things are happening to you right now, but then like once you look back on them, you're like, "Oh, like that gave me that perspective."
Yeah,
It's like, I don't understand why I just got swindled for $900. It's like, well, it's so you could learn how to not get swindled for $9,000.
exactly.
It's one of those like it's almost like you need to learn how to manage your money before you become rich kind of thing because it's like otherwise you're just going to burn it all.
Definitely. Like, and for me, that whole experience of learning detachment and learning about, my self worth and identity. And
He's getting out of control.
should I go move him really quick? It's like getting,
um,
or
what do you think? I mean, you had to get out of here relatively soon.
I don't know. It's just, this is really screwing with the audio. I think I need to like move him to another room.
Well, maybe he's just signaling that it's our time to
Maybe it's like
wrap it up.
the struggles of a puppy. Oh, it,
Well,
it
let's
gets
let's put
easier.
on the. I mean, look, I think this has been an excellent what is it, hour and a half
Okay,
conversation.
good. I mean, I've been having such a fun time. It doesn't even feel like an hour and a half. It's just been
It's crazy,
rolling
right?
by.
Well, let's definitely do this again, and
Yeah.
then we'll make sure that the dog is a little less of a puppy.
Yeah, it's like I don't even know where I would put him to like, hopefully separation anxiety, like, he grows out of it. I'm sure he will.
I think so. It's they're adaptable, right?
I hope.
Well, what's interesting is I got my dog. She's sleeping behind me right now. You can kind of see her in the
I'm
picture.
jealous.
I had to tire her out to get her to the state. But what something that was crazy was, and you touched on about like the soul family kind of thing, is I started applying that because I'm dog sitting right now, so it's just been me and her for the last 8 days, and that feeling into intuition and like really like trying to pay attention to it. I like the phrase twin flame. Like I'm like I felt it really strong when I looked at her one time, and I was like, "Are you like my twin flame?" Like,
How do
and
you
I
do you kn
got
did you learn what that term was before you felt
I
that?
s I still don't fully know what it means. I've heard other people reference other people in that light, but I don't really, like, know, like, the whole what is it? Tell me what it means to you.
To be honest, I'm not an expert on twin flames. Like, I have friends who are twins and have expressed to me I've been a part of their journey, and so I'm, like, close to it, but I don't wanna butcher it, and I think there's so many different types of twin flame experiences and journeys that there's not one size fits all. I've never heard of a twin
Right.
flame experience where it's a human and a dog, but there
Oh,
totally could be, like the ones that I've experienced through friendships, through my friends are romantic. It's like a guy and a girl.
okay.
But I've heard of it where it could be siblings or a family member, It's like it's basically when your soul's split into two bodies.
Oh,
So
I
half of your soul's in a different body and it's, you know,
so the intuitive intuition I have around twin flame is just that it's like someone who knows how to poke you in all the wrong ways kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, it's
Is
a
it kind
very
of the same?
triggering experience, but it's like you guys are the same soul, and it's like I don't even feel like I'm worthy of talking about it because I don't know enough about it, and I don't want to butcher it because everyone has their own
Alright,
experience, and it's like a very sacred thing. Like I don't have that experience to share about it, so it's like I
gotcha.
see it firsthand, and I'm like, I don't think I want a twin.
Okay, I'll have to find a twin flame expert
Yeah,
because just in that the way that you kind of phrase that, to me, it hits as like, well, like, in theory, aren't you a fragment of my soul and my soul's a fragment of my soul? Because if we're all of source
totally.
energy, right,
We're
wouldn't
all
everything just be a fragment?
Yeah, so we're all connected and come from the same source. Like we're all one and connected. But that's totally different than being one soul split into two bodies. So we all are independent individual souls, but we all come from the same source. So because of that, we're all connected and we're all one. But your soul is created and has your own soul experiences and different lives that you've lived, different, lessons and experiences. But when your soul split into two, it's like entirely different versus like us all being connected.
Okay. I'm just gonna take your I get what you're saying, but to me, my mind's still like, well, I'm still kind of logically fighting it because to me, it's like, well, she's a version of my soul, you're a version of my soul,
No,
but
totally. We are, but it's different than
right.
like, because we all, like your soul being split into two different bodies on earth at the same time is a pretty crazy thing if you think about it. So it's like you're meeting yourself in real life. It's just in a different body. And so usually when that happens, it's like this whole body, whole consuming, like feeling, outer body experience, what I've been told, where it's like you're never the same after that, like ever.
Like after
And
meeting this person?
yes, after meeting this person, and it's very triggering because if it's like meant to be, if it's like a romantic thing, there's usually some type of obstacle where it's like one person's more of like the teacher and more awakened, and the other person's not. And it's a very like it's all planned out before you come here and you can't really control how it's supposed to happen and you want to, but you can't. And so it's like some twins are never meant to end up being together or some are. And there's so many different types of journeys. I don't even know.
I'm gonna do some research and
You
see if I can find
should.
a twin flame
You
expert.
should actually get someone on to talk about it.
That would be a good idea because I've heard it dropped
It's
around a couple times, but
it's not
like
a
what you just
lighthearted
said
thing.
here.
Like whenever I have friends talk about it or I have friends in it and it's it's a lot. It it takes over their life. It can.
Really?
Oh yeah, and it's something that's like a big big part of their life. So,
Yeah, I feel like if I haven't stepped on twin flame people enough by saying that my dog is my twin flame, then I might want to reserve any other comments I have for an expert because in my mind it's just like I mean there's people out that I've hung out with that trigger me, right? But I just like let it go,
but
right?
here's the
You
thing is you and your dog could have a soul connection. You could have cuz you have soulmates. Like soulmate to me is someone who's in your like you have a soul contract, right? Like you're meant to be with that person in this life for an X amount of period of time. And you and your dog, when you looked into your dog's eyes and felt that, you 100% have a soul connection, and you decided to come to this life and have this bond and like experience this together. So you could totally have felt something and it be spot on. It just might not be a twin flame, or it could. I have no clue.
Okay. I see what
Like,
you're
you could
saying.
have a twin flame that's a dog. I don't know enough. I don't know about that, but, like, the people that trigger you and
You're getting distracted by your dog.
it's just so loud. I'm hoping it's, like, not I wanna punch him in the face, but he's so
You might not
cute.
need it by the time you get over
Oh
there.
my god.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up then because
He's going
you
ape
obviously,
shit.
yeah, we'll definitely have you back on to have a more in depth conversation about twin flames once we cross that bridge.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh, Um, so I'd give you the floor for a little bit if you want to plug anything, encourage people to do something.
I guess you can find me on, Instagram at just teal.cooper, and then my podcast is Real with Teal, and I guess I don't know what I would encourage people to do. If I could say one thing, it would be to, I guess, to try and tune in more to your own, um, intuition and like your own path instead of seeking answers outside of yourself. Because I think at the end of the day, we all know what's best for us more than anyone else does. And it's just counterproductive to, you know, get answers and advice from other people when like we know what we should be doing the most if we just like tune in.
Just tune in.
Just tune in, tap in, like go quiet, get quiet and be alone long enough to like hear your soul speak to you.
Have you ever done like a hour long meditation?
Yeah, I've done Joe Dispenza's before.
Oh, okay. Those are I haven't done his specifically, but like when you meditate for over an hour, that's when you start like enjoy being alone. And I'm just like, this is getting weird.
Yeah, it's like I used to not enjoy being alone and now I love it. And I think that it's something that's required in order to be able to hear yourself.
Yeah, to be able to know whenever it's you versus like other people around you that are putting it in, feeding the system, let's say.
Totally. Because your energy can get affected so easily by other people. And sometimes when you're around people, like it can linger their energy until you are alone enough and or like intentionally clear it. Like I do a lot of clearing, just like intention, like with the intentions, just like clearing energy that's in me, that's on me, that's not mine. And
Yeah,
just actually like saying that out loud. I think also with being alone and getting your own like thoughts in order and being able to tune in and realizing, okay, maybe this is my soul versus ego, or this is coming from someone else that's been like projecting onto me. I don't know.
no, I get where you're going with it. Like I kind of do that with my podcasts. Like before my episodes, I'll try to meditate for like 30 minutes beforehand. And then at the end of it, I'll try to be like, all right, like tap me into, let's say, like Teal's energy so that we can have like a good podcast and so that I'm ready, ready for it.
I love that. I,
Uh,
I do that too, but not the
yeah,
meditating before I say I'll say out loud like to my guides, spirit guides, which I guess I didn't really talk about, but that's in Journey of Souls too, all about spirit guides. But
uh,
um
I need to
calling
talk
on your
about those.
guides and getting them, just saying like I guess it could be called a prayer or an affirmation, or just like you said, like tuning in the energy of the other person, or whatever's meant to be said will be said, and like trusting that it's going to create the most like impactful episode possible, or connect with as many people as possible.
Right. And then to put a cap on it, then afterwards, it's like to kind of clear your energy out so that you can like focus on what you need to do after the fact too. I feel like that's important as well.
No, yeah, definitely. And I think it's like a daily thing. It's not That's the hard part. It's not like you can just do it once and boom. It's like every time you interact with new people, it's like coming back to your center and yourself and getting clear and quiet. And it's a daily, I think, way of living your life.
I mean, that's something that I learned with meditating was like I so I've been meditating for probably 4 or 5 years now. But, like, in this first year or 2, like, it was just, like, all negative thought, like, judgment, negative thought, criticism, and it wasn't until about the 3rd year where I caught myself having thoughts of congratulating myself, like, "Oh, dude, it was cool when you helped that person there. It was cool when you did this," and I, like I remember I was sitting in the sauna at, Shock Fitness in PB, and
Yeah,
I had, like, a positive thought, and I was like, "Holy shit, I just had, like, a random positive thought while meditating." Like, I thought it was crazy.
that's
I even
amazing.
Yeah, and I even shared it on Instagram because I was, like, so, like, dumbfounded by it, and then 2 people commented back, or 3 people, and they were like, "You can do that? Like, you can get to a positive place with meditating?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, like, keep going."
Wow, yeah, see, it's like you hit a milestone and you're like, "Wow, it actually does work. The work I'm doing is making an impact."
It, like, shows itself.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I heard your dog again. Guys, if you wanna get more in touch with Teal, go check out the links below. Um, I was on her podcast. I don't know when she's gonna release it, but we're definitely gonna, have to figure that out. Maybe we'll release them at the same day or something.
I'm excited for
Um,
it.
yeah, but other than that, Teal, thank you so much for being here. Guys, check out her links down below in the description. Um, Share if you learned something cool. If you know somebody that knows twin flames, send them my way because I know nothing. And other than that, we'll see Teal again when we got to talk about souls and soul families and soul contracts. So
Thank you, Clayton. I had the best time. Appreciate you having me
awesome.
on.
I'm glad you enjoyed it because I did too.
Definitely did.
So thanks again, and conscious monkeys, let's grow together.